acknowledge the fact that the customer has changed and we need to change in our outreach.
Yeah.
We haven't.
Yeah. It's also when you get the emails for the third time, right? Saying, oh, you haven't responded to this one or that one, right? Is it because you don't want the emails? I'm like, yeah, read the room here, right?
Right. The question is, who's going to call on the customers?
Yeah.
Because you book the order and then you don't have a good supply chain and the customer goes to an alternative B. So where there's strength, where there's power, an unbeatable conversation, Sannah, is when the rep and the distributor are working together to win the socket, but to keep the socket. There's a term that we use. You want to be the trusted advisor.
And time is pressure, right? So again, back to what you said, right? If you know who to ask to get there faster, that's the route you will follow.
Right. We just think that we're somehow going to magically wake up and figure this out.
Inboxes are full, response rates are dropping, and the answer most salespeople reach for is to send more. More emails, more automated sequences, more LinkedIn connection requests. The engineers have seen this, right, and noticed it, and they've gotten really good and better at just ignoring all this. Welcome to Leadership Manufacturing Podcast. I'm your host, Sannah Vinding. I'm an engineer and go-to market leader, focusing on how leaders operate when complexity is high and the answers are not always obvious. This show is for leaders across electronics, manufacturing, distribution, and the supply chain. And it's all about practical leadership for technical teams. No hype, no theory, just what actually works. The electronics channel has always run on relationship, but relationships don't start in an inbox. The conversation is about what breaks through and what doesn't. And my guest today is Walter Tobin. Walter built his career in the electronics distribution, rising through senior leadership at Future Electronics before he spent close to a decade as a CEO of the Electronics Representative Association, the organization that represents and advocates the independent manufacturing rep community. He recently stepped down from the CEO role and is now supporting ERA's new CEO, Ed Smith, through the leadership transition. He's seen the channel from every angle, the manufacturer, the distributor, the rep, and the engineer. We talked about reaching the unreachable, using AI in outreach without losing the human part, why supply chain transparency still has a long way to go, and what the last mile actually demands of you. Enjoy the episode. Thanks for tuning in to Leadership Manufacturing Podcast today. I am excited because I am joined by Walter Tobin. So welcome, Walt.
Hi, thank you very much, Sannah. Thank you.
Okay, let's jump in because we want to talk about manufacturing, distribution, the rep, everything here, right? So I think I want to start with something that really relate to all of us, right? Because most of us, we ignore all the emails, the calls we receive. So I wanted to hear from you, what's your perspective? What actually how do you get someone's attention today?
So it's a great question. We try to focus on how to reach the unreachable. And, the frustration that we've had, frankly, since COVID, I can't believe I'm still talking about COVID, was that, people started working from home. People were no longer in the office. It was hard to get appointments. It was hard to get them to respond to emails. And that has been exacerbated since COVID. And yet we continue as salespeople in outreaching to try to do the same things. And, not only have we changed, but our customers have changed.
Yeah.
The engineers have changed. So if we keep doing the same thing in outreaching, it's not going to work. And I think that, just as an example, I think if you look at your own personal life, I probably get 100 emails a day.
Oh, yeah. You're not alone. You're not alone.
Yeah. So I think everybody else use 100. There's probably 80 of them that I never open.
Yeah.
I delete them. I put them in spam. I never open them. So there's 80 out of 100 I never open. The other 20 I look at, I probably open 10% of that.
Yeah.
Open and read them. And then of those, I probably respond to 1 or 2. So out of 100 emails that I get, I'm probably opening and responding to 2.
Yeah.
Now, everybody else is, mathematics are probably similar, but how do you get the people to open the email and respond to you? And I think it all goes around training.
Yeah.
We're in an industry that everybody's been doing this a long time, and yet you think about how much formal sales training have any of us ever had? Have any of us ever attended? Have any of our companies ever sent people to? Certainly since COVID, we just think that we're somehow going to magically wake up and figure this out. Most of the emails that we get, you can't believe that somebody would send you this email and think you're going to respond to it. It's awful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that certainly there needs to be some training. There needs to be some better ways to entice or convince the receiver to open the email. AI is not the answer. AI just helps you find emails and find the addresses and find the names.
Yeah.
But how to get that person to open the email, how to reach the unreachable, because you and I, Sannah, are unreachable. We're potential customers for a lot of people that try to
Oh,
get to.
yeah.
So you're as unreachable as anybody.
Yeah.
And how do you get somebody to open it? So
Yeah.
I think that the solution is better training, different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
Not to be cute. Don't send an email saying, "Hey, did you get this? Can you move this to the
Yeah.
top of your email?" It's
Yeah.
crazy, and I think that acknowledge the fact that the customer has changed, and we need to change in our outreach because
Yeah.
we haven't.
Yeah, yeah. It's also when you get the emails for the third time, right? Saying, "Oh, you haven't responded to this one or that one," right? Is it because you don't want the emails? I'm like, yeah, read the room here, right?
Right.
I
And
don't want.
the other mistake that people make is that, okay, I'm gonna send Sannah a connection on LinkedIn. That's the way I'm gonna get to Sannah.
Yeah,
So I send her a message and I want to connect. And I know that probably well over 80, maybe 90% of the time, as soon as I accept somebody's connection,
they sell you.
I'm going to get a message right
Yeah.
away to try to sell me something. And I do it on occasion just to see, okay, am I going to get a
Yeah.
connection to
Yeah.
sell me?
How bad is it?
And it's like, are you serious?
Yeah, right.
Did you?
Yeah.
So I stopped accepting
Yeah.
almost all connections,
Yeah.
unless it's somebody I know,
Yeah.
because they think that somehow they're going to get to us. Oh, I'll get them through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It's really a failed initiative.
Yeah. Yeah. I sometimes, if I have the time and I get that kind of message right after I accept it, I'm like, that's not how why I connected. If you have any value you can bring to the table, I'm
Right.
here. I will love to, offer, what I can bring as value, but this is not a sales pitch.
And I think that you just said the word. The email, when you send it, the receiver needs to look at the email and try to understand what value is this for me, the receiver,
Yeah.
versus the sender.
Yeah.
And if you can't see that in the title,
Yeah.
or at least entice the person to open it, it's a wasted email. It's a wasted effort.
Yeah. Waste of everything.
So we have to change. We have to train
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
on become better. It's interesting, Sannah. Most of us have never gone through sales training.
Yeah. No.
Here we are in the electronics industry.
Yeah. Selling.
We don't go through training.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We need better training. We need
Yeah.
up-to-date training.
Yeah, we do. Let's talk about the tension that could be right between reps and distributors and manufacturers, because sometimes it's like, who found the opportunity? I think this is a really good topic, because it's like, as an industry, right? If we share the win instead of competing for it, maybe that's the way. But I want to hear, your angle on it.
Sure. Well, it's interesting. If you look back in history, the reps were put on really as an extension. The reps are an extension of the manufacturer's sales force. The reps are, in fact, the manufacturer's sales force.
Yes.
The distributors were put on to do the supply chain, to do all the continuity of supply. And the manufacturers, in our industry, the manufacturers control all the purse strings.
Yeah.
The manufacturers give gross profit percent to the distributors. The manufacturers give POS commission to the reps. So all the profit that we get in the industry comes from the manufacturers. We get no profit from the customers. We get revenue from the customers.
Yeah.
So the manufacturers calling all the shots. And what happened was, back in the 80s, Intel and Motorola came up with this registration program, which was put in to protect the distributor that did the design work. And so then the rep had to sign off on the registration. And in some cases, the manufacturer purposely pitted the rep and the distributor against each other to figure out who's going to get the brownie points, who's going to get the pat on the top of the head on who brought the opportunity.
Yeah.
That has really long since gone away or had been reduced dramatically. The reps do account identification. The reps, as the manufacturer's sales force, do design work, but the distributors also do design work. They have FAEs, they have salespeople out doing registrations, and it's always been historically a race to who's going to get the registration in first. The fact of the matter is the rep has to sign off the registration, usually. The rep will say, okay, Tobin got this from distributor A or distributor B. So, but a lot of the competition that used to exist has been reduced dramatically. I know that ERA, we worked hard to bridge the gap between the reps and the distributors. That you're not competing, you're in partnership to get the opportunity for the manufacturer, get the opportunity, come in with a robust supply chain. Sometimes you book the order, then you lose it because you book the order and then you don't have a good supply chain, and the customer goes to an alternative B. So where there's strength, where there's power, an unbeatable conversation, Sannah, is when the rep and the distributor are working together to win the socket, but to keep the socket.
Yeah. What about commissions? What's happening with them? Because that's also in all this like triangle.
Right. That's a great question. So if you look at historically back, 20, 30 years ago, the gross profit that distribution made on average was about 25%.
Yeah.
And that's gross profit between the cost and the resale of what the component what they sell the component for. The reps commissions were generally 5% of point of sale, and they get paid almost 95% of what the distributors sell. Both of those over the last 20 years have come down. They've come down. The average, and I'm just generalizing, the average gross profit for distribution is anywhere from 12 to 15. Yeah. The average commission for reps is anywhere from 2.5 to 4. So why is that? Why have they reduced commissions for the distributor, point of sale commissions? Gross profit for the distributor is commission for the reps.
Yeah.
When in fact they're asking both of them to do more. We need you to do more. We need you to do more demand creation. We need you to have you hire more engineers. And frankly, it's just as the industry matures, the manufacturers have reduced both commissions to put a lot of the extra profit into the manufacturer.
Yeah.
That's really been the problem that we have today, in that with distribution and the reps, it's kind of a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
And how low can you stand, reduce gross profit, reduce commission before you say, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah. I can't work
for manufacturer. Free, right? Say again?
Yeah, I can't work for free.
I can't work for free. Or if the manufacturer cuts the rep commissions from 5 to 4, they'll say, well, Tobin, why is that a problem? You only cut your commission 1%. No, you cut it 20%. Going from 5 to 4 is a 20% pay cut.
Yeah.
How would you like to have your pay cut 20% and ask me to continue to do more, get more registrations, manage a lot more of the redundant CRM systems?
Yeah.
So it's really the biggest issue we face in the industry. It's kind of a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
And how can you continue to sustain your model when, in fact, in the last 25, 30 years, there's been over 50 distributors that have gone out of business.
Yeah.
They've been acquired by other distributors. Reps are beginning to consolidate. Local reps becoming regional reps becoming multi-regional. There's reps that are becoming almost nationwide. There's reps that are looking to go global, to establish flags in Europe, not so much Asia, but in Europe.
Yeah.
And that's been as a result of trying to get more volume to make up for the reduced profits that we're making as an industry.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. But there's also some manufacturers, right, that are just trying to eliminate reps or bypass. So what happens when you do that? Is the layer you're missing, or what's going on here?
Well, it's a funny thing, Sannah. Manufacturers put reps on primarily. I mean, reps are the manufacturer's sales force.
Yeah,
they're not like an outsourced people. They're your sales force.
Yeah.
Some of them have a matrix model. or a hybrid model that they'll have some direct people covering the big accounts, and the longer tail will be covered by manufacturers' reps.
Yeah.
Sometimes when a manufacturer rep starts making a lot of commission, because why? Because they've grown the sales, because they're bringing a lot of opportunities in.
Yeah.
The manufacturer will say, gee, how much am I paying Tobin in Southern California in commission?
Yeah.
I paid him $1.2 million last year in commission.
Yeah.
Well, I could hire 6 outside salespeople. Let's terminate the rep and hire my own people. Okay, well, what are you going to give up? You're giving up all the relationships that rep has. He knows all the people. You're going to hire somebody new. They don't know where the buyer is for Rockwell Collins, that they're not in Rockwell Collins. They're working out of Idaho with their home.
Yeah.
They don't know the engineers. They don't have any of the relationships with the channel. And so, but it's generally just a short-term money grab.
Yeah.
That they put the reps' commissions, they save it to the bottom line. What happens when they terminate a rep? Not only do they lose all that tribal knowledge, but they lose the coverage of the long tail, because they'll focus on the tier 1 accounts. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to terminate the rep. I'm going to focus on my tier 1s, and the tier 1 biggest customers for a manufacturer are the lowest profit customer. They're the big customers. They require the lowest price. They have very, very small reschedule window, very small cancellation window.
Yeah.
They get very little. They get no supply chain from the manufacturer. It's 30 days. We're going to ship you the high minimum dollar value. So the manufacturer is focusing on those tier 1s. It's the lowest margin customer base. You then look at the second layer of the triangle. The tier 2s are the most profitable.
Yeah.
Because generally they're covered by reps, they're covered by the channel, they can make a little money. And in that tier 2, some of them will end up becoming tier 1s, or some of them will end up becoming tier 3s. But that's the most profitable segment for a manufacturer. The tier 3s, the bottom, it could be higher profit, but they're the most expensive to cover. So they really rely on the channel to cover those. So to answer your question, when a manufacturer terminates a rep, they give up all the tribal knowledge, they give up the knowledge of the customers, they give up knowledge of the engineers, but they give up that ability or desire to cover the long tail. And generally what happens in a year or 2 years after that, the customer base for the manufacturer has shrunk. And that's not good.
No. I like it. I like your explanation on the whole triangle and the tiers here. So that's
and usually what happens is the manufacturer will terminate the rep. Sometimes it's the CFO that makes the decision.
Yeah.
Because they'll see $1.2 million. Gee, we could save that. It's not like they're not saving anything, because this is your sales force. If you had direct salespeople, you might be paying them more than $1.2 million.
Yeah.
But they see this rep as an outsourced thing. Let's fire all the reps. Let's put the money in the pocket. The question is, who's going to call on the customers?
Yeah. Yeah. And in today's world, right, where it's not easy to have all these connections or get them right from scratch, right? This is where the reps are gold.
You hire a direct person, and all of a sudden you have to pay their salary, their commission, their laptop, their expenses.
Yeah.
You can't terminate them within 6 months. They're a fixed cost on your P&L. The reps only get paid on what's sold. So the reps' commissions go up when they sell more.
Yeah.
The rep commissions go down when they sell less. But if I'm a direct salesperson, probably 85% of my pay is fixed. So if my sales go to zero, you're still paying me a fixed salary.
Yeah.
It's not a good model when your sales are flat to down for an OEM. The rep model is the best model.
It's the best model. I like it. Right. I've heard you say at one point, right? You say the companies, they need like a can opener and a closer. Can you tell me how, explain this?
Sure.
I'm pausing the show because I want to make sure you signed up for the newsletter. Every week, I share what I've learned for Leadership Manufacturing Podcast Conversation. And AI is all over, right? And AI is not what makes leadership hard in this industry. It's the human part. And that's what this newsletter is built around. So sign up, go to leadershipmanufacturing.com. Back to the show.
Companies, Sannah, need two things. They need a story, and they need a storyteller. Some companies have a great story, but yet they don't have salespeople to tell the story and get audiences in front of customers. And I use that term as you need a can opener. You need somebody to be able to go in and light up the target, get the opportunity, bring the opportunity in. Hey, I've got an opportunity for a manufacturer, whether that's the rep or that's the distributor, and bring the opportunity in. There's also somebody that needs to go, in some cases, close the order, or in some cases, keep the order. So you need to have somebody to go in and say, listen, we have the design. Let's talk about continuity of supply. Let's talk about how we're going to manage this program. Let's talk about forecasting. Let's talk about on-time delivery. Let's talk about our quality rating. So you need a closer to not only close the order, but to keep the order. The brilliance of people is if they're both. And that's a very rare thing that you may have. You may have very good people that are can openers, but sometimes they lack on closing, and sometimes they end up getting an opportunity. They may not respond quickly to the quote. They may not follow up on the quote, and they lose it because there's nobody to close it. There's nobody to close the loop with the engineer or the buyer to book the opportunity.
Yeah. So what is that like? Skill set? Is it processes? Is it the company culture? How do you fix it?
I think what you need in a lot of cases, we go back to sales training.
Yeah.
How do I as a salesperson, a rep salesperson, or an engineer, how do I get an audience with the customer, the engineer? How do I get them to look at my product? How do I get them to consider, what I'm offering them? The most precious thing any customer can give you is a quote.
Yeah.
Most precious thing. You work 6 months. Sometimes we get the quote and bring it into our company, and the company says, "Oh, the quantities aren't real, and they may not want to quote it. They may take a long time." It took me 3 months to get an audience with the customer. 3 more months to get the quote. I'm bringing it in like a sacred gift. And sometimes inside my company, they dismiss it. They don't respond to it. And so I think it's a lot of sales training. I think it's a lot of, some of the basics on following up, attention to detail, do what you say you're going to do, respond to emails. It's interesting. We quote as an industry, we'll submit a quote to a customer, or the customer say, listen, I need the quote by Friday.
Yeah.
We go bang, bang, bang. We get the quote in Friday. Let's say I'm an outside salesperson. I talk to the inside salesperson on Monday and I'll say, hey, how do we make out on the quote with the buyer? Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, could you follow up? Well, I emailed him. I called him or her.
Yeah.
Okay. Your job is not to email or call the customer. Your job is to book the order.
Yeah.
Not to do the quote. And so we need and some of these are very basic sales training, Sannah.
Yeah.
That, again, you can't do by email. You can't do by AI.
Yeah.
To be, there's a term that we use. You want to be the trusted advisor.
Yeah.
To the customer, and that is, when I have a question or a problem, I'm going to call Sannah first because I know you're going to give me the straight scoop, and I'm going to say, I'm looking at this particular socket.
Yeah.
I can use supplier A or supplier B. I know, Sannah, you have supplier A.
Yeah, it's this responsiveness as well, right?
Can you give me the response? And you might say, you know what? I have supplier A. It's a good supply. Supplier B is a better solution for you.
Yeah.
So I'll remember that.
Yeah.
That you told me not to buy yours, but to buy somebody else's. I'll remember that you were honest with me. Because if I design in supplier A and I find out later that wasn't the best solution, you've lost your status as my trusted advisor.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about having the right relationships, the right recommendations, right? And know where to go. And time is pressure, right? So again, back to what you said, right? If you know who to ask to get there faster, that's the route you will follow.
Right. Especially when, most people today, including us in our own personal lives, we want to do emails. We don't want to talk to anybody. Certainly not a bot that appears in the lower right-hand column of corner of a screen. But you want to book the ticket. You want to get the answer right away. You want to get it fast. We've conditioned our society to get instant response. So if I'm an engineer and I can't get the answer on the website, if I call somebody, if I call a rep, if I go to a rep's website, I want to be able to find somebody's name, phone number, email. I want an answer right away. Not, I'll get back to you next week. Thanks for your email. Or call this number 1-800-GET-LOST.
Yeah.
Somebody will pick up. we'll click out of the website and we'll go to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it has to be easy to find, right? But this
Right.
touches as well, right? Because like technology allows us to find information, right? And move information much faster. But
Right.
sometimes it's like sending bad information faster. So it's
But
like, what's happening in how do you see what's happening in the industry?
Shannon, it's a great point. We have all these customers use APIs to place orders, and we have supply chain, and we're
Yeah.
talking about all of the things that we do, and it's automated and all that. In many cases, we're still doing things with sticks and stones.
Yeah.
So if I'm a customer and I buy an order from a distributor, and the distributor then it's a lead time of 6 weeks, or I'm waiting for my order. In many cases, if I go to the distributor has to call somebody,
Yeah.
or God forbid, email somebody at the factory. Can you tell me when I'm going to get this product? That's lunacy. I mean, that's 2 steps. There should be a way to have customers or distributors to certainly go in and get real-time access
Yeah.
to the status of their orders. The problem is that many of the orders are aggregated. So if I have a customer and I buy 1,000 pieces from a distributor, that distributor buys 10,000 from the manufacturer. The order goes into the manufacturer, and they're coming from overseas, and that's an aggregated shipment and a bulk shipment on a container.
Yeah.
In many cases, they can't tell where it's at. That's crazy. There needs to be increased transparency, immediate access, because customers want to know, when am I going to get it?
Yeah.
When is it coming in? And the other problem is, if you're looking for a particular component, they have 3 different distributors. You
Yeah.
call the 3 different distributors, you're going to get 3 different lead times.
Lead times. Yeah.
And if you call the rep, you might get a different lead time.
Yeah. Why is it not the same? Yeah.
How can that not be the same when we should all be on the same platform?
Yeah.
And give the same information? That's when customers say, well, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Or you might have somebody short sheet the delivery to book the order and then can't deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's a lot more, right? We can improve in this industry for sure.
It needs to be transparent.
Yeah.
It needs to be immediate access, all online, without phone calls.
Yeah. So I want to go back and talk a little bit about AI, because how I see AI, right? AI can help you with opportunities. It can analyze data, and I call it like the last mile, right? Because you need to go and talk to the customer, get that foot in the door, right? So how do you see, how can AI help us? Because it's not going away.
AI is here. It's here to stay forever. What AI is good for, what most of us use it in sales, is whether the different platforms. We have a platform, SearchLink, on the ARA website. AI is great for, hey, I want to find out who the robotics customers are in Ohio, because I have a component that's good for the robotics market. Yeah. I can go into all the AI tools, and I can find out pretty much almost instantaneously the robotics customers in a particular area. I might even be able to find out, if I go in and say, okay, show me all the buyers at the companies.
Yeah.
Show me all the engineers at the companies. I get that. Can you give me their email? Can you give me their phone number? That is gold.
Yeah.
That is gold. What do I do with it? So AI can help you with the data, but then here I am at my computer sending that email to the unreachable. How do I get them to respond to me? How do I take that information, all the information, the last mile? How do I get into the customer? How do I, God forbid, Santa's agreed to meet with me?
Yeah.
That's gold. What do I do when I get there? If I go in there with the Muhammad and talk about my company and what I'm about me.
Oh yeah, me.
The customer wants to hear, how can you help me with my problem?
Yeah.
And that's sales training to help take that opportunity into the last mile, to get the customer to see you, to show value.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of ways you can use AI to help demonstrate the value. But again, it's going to be that email. It's, God forbid, a text message. Most people find that intrusive.
Yeah.
It's going to be that connection on LinkedIn, which most people find a waste of time. How do I get somebody to respond to my email?
Yeah.
I have to show value to you, Sannah. why you would do that.
But as you just said, right, AI can help you to analyze, right, and search so you can find out if it's the vertical, right, you will know the industry, but the vertical, right, maybe the challenges that's in there, right, you know what that company is manufacturing. Right. So it can help you narrow down so you can see, okay, this is what I can ask, or this is the solutions I can bring, or this is the value. So it helps you expedite, I think, or be faster, right, in that upfront. But there's still a lot of sales skills, as you're saying, right? Is that last mile? How do you become visible, right, in front of that customer that you don't know they don't know you, so you need to become visible.
Right. So there's I know that, again, these AI tools, you can go in. So I'm working for a manufacturer and I'm making, ceramic capacitors, whatever it is. Yeah. I can go in and say, hey, I'm calling on Bose in Framingham. Yeah. And I'm representing the Acme Capacitor Company. Can you tell me what capacitors may be an opportunity to sell to Bose based on the products that they're making, the rate, whatever it is they're rating. Yeah. And AI will go in and say, hey, because they somehow will search whatever the bill of materials for Bose, because it's someplace on the public domain. Yeah. Let's say there's an opportunity to sell these particular 3 or 4 capacitors. Yeah. That's power. Yeah. Now, if I'm trying to get an audience with you, I might lead and say, hey, I'd like to come in and talk about these specific 4 things. We have a value, we have some new products, blah, blah, blah. But lead the fact that, okay, this person knows my product. Exactly. This person knows what I'm buying. Yeah. Or this could be a use for me. Yeah. That might get to the audience rather than I want to come in and talk about the latest products from my capacitor company. Yeah. They'll
and you get much more personalized, right? I think that's one of the skills you have to learn and how to develop, how to be more personal when you are going for this target.
Right. If you're let's say you're an engineer working in the robotics area, and I'm trying to get to you, and how do I get to Sannah? Yeah. I can go in through AI and I can say, show me all the latest publications in the electronics industry on robotics stuff, and I'll get 100 articles. What I can do is I can have AI read the article for me. Yeah. Summarize the article in 3 or 4 sentences, and send an email to the customer, not saying I read the article, but saying, hey, I'm Walter Tobin. I'm with Acme Manufacturing. I thought you might find this article of interest. Yeah. And then give a 2 or 3 paragraph summary of the article, and here's the link to the article. Yeah. So you say, hey, this guy Tobin, that's exact. I never would have read this article. Yeah. This is good stuff. And that might get you to respond to me. Yeah. Even though I never read the article, Sannah. Yeah.
No, but you still need to have an understanding, right? It's not that you can do the blindfold and saying, okay, I'm just letting AI read everything. I think you have to look through, right? And saying, does this really make sense? And then you can have AI to help you to make it easy to read, right? In that email. Yes. So.
Right. Yeah. No, and I'm not. I'm certainly saying if I'm selling customers robotic, I know from my manufacturer.
You know your territory. Products. Yeah.
I have to have this product knowledge when I go in there. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to this episode. I really appreciate it. Make sure to follow us. What I really liked of this episode is that the reps who are breaking through are not the one who's doing more, right? It's the one who's doing something more specific. I love Walter's point about AI and outreach. It's worth sitting with, right? It gives you data, context, and it's also a way to personalize. And none of this replaces the decision to show up with something, using to that person you're trying to reach. So if you work in the electronics channel, whether you're a rep, distributor, or on the manufacturing side, this conversation takes a look into what can change and how you can change too. So please share it with somebody within the industry. And I have a part 2 coming up because this was just the beginning of my conversation with Walter. So stay tuned for that one. But thanks for listening to Leadership Manufacturing. See you next time.